Hey friends, good evening. Welcome to Lions Live, broadcasting here in a cold State College, Pennsylvania. Skip Robowitz, Greg Johnson, Big East Stephen Davis, and Jonas Saz will be joining us here shortly, talking some Penn State football on the only network put by the players to the fans, not a podcast. This show is not pre-recorded. We are live here at State College. Billy's working the boards here with us. He may even chat with us too, because he loves this football too. And we're glad to talk to us Penn State football here. And Greg is with us out in New Jersey, and thinking about swimming out in a nice cold Atlantic. Am I right, Greg?
I'm in pain, fellas. I'm in pain.
Oh, man. Hey, this weather reminds us of what it's more like to come back after going to a warm bowl game and for the news to not does anything else.
Yeah.
And this is cold, cold, cold. Okay, can you imagine what it would have been like on Saturday if it was like this?
No, I felt like it was.
Well, I walked on the sidelines and I saw you, but I didn't stay too long there. I shot back up into the lounge up there to watch the game, and I stayed there. So, but it was great.
I eventually joined you, so I understand.
Oh, I know you weren't long for it, being the Southern boy you are.
Hey, it's just funny. I talked to my mom a little earlier this evening, and she told me that it's been in the 70s all day, and they've had snow for the last couple of days. So it's everywhere, man. We're not getting a break at it.
Oh man, it is. Yeah, it's brutal out there. But it was a pretty kind of nice, good homecoming this past weekend. We had a lot of guys back. I think it's probably one of the last home games here this year that we're going to have a lot more of the core players back because being next weekend and the holiday weekend, like a lot of people staying home. I know you're going to be back down with your family as well. So, this past weekend we had a lot of guys come up. David Clark was up. I talked to him. It was great seeing him. DJ Dozer was back. Saul Quinnis, McDonald, he was around, and of course yourself as usual. And of course, and again, the whole host of the family back there in the lounge is great to see. Bruce Clark and some other guys. Saw Franco Saturday night downtown here at the preview of the film for Joe. It was kind of great. Saw Justin Kuprikas, he was out as well. A real nice video there. I look forward to being able to see it. Fortunately, being in the position I get a copy of it. So look forward to being able to actually get my own personal viewing of the film. It was great to get out to the reception that Saturday night. But a lot of travel time for you, though. I know you had to head on back, and but it was great to have me up here, Greg. And it's been the season that's flown by us, but thankfully here we are bowl eligible now, and possibly maybe at least hopefully getting one more win and giving Michigan State a hard time there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Skip, if you don't mind, I want to do one thing real quick. I want to give a humongous shout out to Coach Chambers, basketball coach, and the men's basketball team. They signed I think it's the number 27 recruiting class in the country. And yeah, he is turning that thing around. I actually went to see my niece play Friday afternoon, and then went and watched those guys Friday evening, and I congratulated him, and he told me, he said, Greg, we've done a lot of good things with the football program. They helped us bring a lot of these kids in here. So, it's just amazing how sports on campus, you see during pregame, a lot of different sports on campus bring their recruits down on the sideline, whether it be, girls basketball, football, men's basketball, volleyball. They all bring their recruits down. So he was just telling me how much the football program actually helps him recruit and get a kid in that stadium where they just want to be a part of that atmosphere. But I was really tickled to death, man, that they got the top 30 class. First time it's ever happened in the history of the school.
Well, that's fantastic.
I went and watched the game, and they look really good. The girls are going to be good too. They're going to have a few bumps and bruises because they're young, but they're going to do well too. But
tell us about your cousin who's playing ball up here. Now this is great. This is a family affair going up here, man. A family of athletes here at Penn State.
It's actually
my niece. I'm sorry, your niece. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, she's her name is Peyton Williams. She's a sophomore. Did really well last year as a freshman. She was 6th or 7th woman, depending on the game. This year she just started lineup. They had a really good game on Friday. They actually were up by 15 and ended up getting down by 9 or 10, and then they ended up winning I think by 6 or 7. So, you know, a good learning curve for those guys. They actually lost on Sunday. You know, just a lot of turnovers again. You know, they're very, very young. But she's doing well. I'm probably more proud of the fact that she finished on the dean's list first semester.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And she's doing real well again now. You know, so yeah, I've got some family connected at Penn State. So man, we just keep it coming.
Well, true to form, you know, academic excellence and on the field, you know, striving for excellence too, man. So that's what makes Penn State great. You know, I was online today chatting with a few people on Facebook about what's up with Penn State, talking about recruiting a little bit, and we'll touch on that as well, because we do want to give a recap of last week, what we see for next. But we were chatting with some people online about some of the recruits in Penn State, and then I'm noticing some of these kids, you know, I can call them kids now, I guess I'm old myself because I got the gray hairs coming. So I always thought it was kind of funny when they referred to us as kids when we were there, like, you know, man, I'm not a kid no more, but you know, you have that mentality when you're then. And I see these kids, really, they are young men today, and you know, I can't help but notice how much the change has affected from our culture with the idea of the way a person carries themselves. And I guess I'm just getting to be old school, man, because, you know, I like the idea of guys from Penn State having that reputation of athletes coming here being mentally, morally, and athletically qualified to be invited to come. Because Penn State's not just like any other school. You know, we're not Miami, and we're not some of these schools who are just happy to, like anybody in the SEC, man. If you can run a 4.2, man, we're going to sign you. We're going to find a basketball course for you and get you a degree, man. You know, Penn State's not like that, and you know, and that's what makes us different. And I was a little disappointed with some people who didn't seem to understand the mentality of what it is to bring somebody here and mold them for excellence. And I think that's part of, I mean, we came from a school where you come here, you get broken down, you gotta conform or be cast out. It's that simple. And I don't see a lot of that happening today. And I don't like seeing these kids coming here. I don't mean to be mean, but they come in here looking like hippies, you know? I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but you know, you know, when we were here with Joe, he expected you to get a haircut every couple of weeks. You know, you can't be looking like a shaggy dog, and you got to carry yourself well. And the reason I think behind all that also carries along through was the discipline of treating everybody the same, and that type of individualism with the tattoos and the long hair and that type of stuff. I think is takes away from the idea and concept of team, and we see that more and more today in college football. There, especially in the NFL also, but the idea is all about me, and it's not about the team. And I think, you know, Penn State shouldn't change its standards, certainly academically, and it shouldn't change those moral standards as well. And I hope Coach Franklin, you know, decides to see you guys, you know, you got to carry yourself around. You can't be going around looking like a girl with nose in your hair and tying your hair back in pigtails and stuff like this. I mean, come on, you know, you're supposed to look like a man. And that type of individualism and rebelliousness that kind of comes along with that concept of being different than everybody. I don't think that's a place here, man. I mean, I guess I'm still old school. I just want to see guys clean cut, working out hard in the classroom, working out hard in the field, striving for excellence on and off the field beyond Penn State as well. And I'm just putting that out there. I know people don't like that. I invite people to call in tonight, and we can do that. Joey, what's our number here? 814-272-1953. 1953. So give us a call if you don't like that. You can call me back on Facebook if you like.
I tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to respond to that, and then I'm very interested in hearing and I'm in Julian's response, because Julian is part of that new generation and new culture. But I'll tell you what, I've got several buddies that are Division I coaches, and I continue to hear those guys tell me how you know, you lose kids nowadays if you don't give them some of those freedoms. You know, all kids love the 25,000 different Oregon uniforms. You know, the 5-star kids, you know, you lose some of those guys if they feel like, you know, there's too much discipline, if there's too much structure, or things like that. You know, there was a time where, you know, Joe Paterno wouldn't recruit a kid if he had a bunch of tattoos and things like that. You know, I remember my freshman year, second semester, I'm walking down the hall at the football building, and Joe says to me, "Hey Johnson, did you make it? Did you make it all vacation? Is that spring break? I'm not going to go get it." In other words, you can have a mustache, but that's all you're gonna have. My son played college basketball from 04 to 08, and that's when I started to really notice the culture change. When I dropped him off at school and got him moved in, I told him, I said, listen, for 4 years, do not come home with cornrows in your hair, and do not come home with a tattoo. I don't care what your teammates are doing. I don't care where they're going. I don't care what they got going on. Do not come back to this house with that stuff. And he didn't. So a lot of it has to do with the structure that you come from. But I can tell you, and I do know this for sure, and I even had this conversation with my son. I do know for sure that there are some of the prime time, pristine 5-star players, whether they're basketball or football. They are not going to look at a school that has the type of structure that we had. I think O'Brien trended towards accommodating those things because he was more so dedicated towards an NFL locker room, which is pretty loose, things like that. I can tell you, I know for sure that Franklin is absolutely a control freak. So that's why you see our team GTA has been phenomenal, things like that. Now, at the same time, nowadays these kids have tattoos and they're covered all over the place. And they wear beards, they wear long hair hanging out of their helmet. That's just kind of as old school as we are, and as much as we were raised by our fathers and Joe, who were old school, we're just going to kind of have to accept that stuff because that's just kind of the way it is now. Do we like it? No, but those are just some of the things that are going on right now that we just kind of got to suck it up and understand that, hey man, as long as these kids are going to class, they're representing us academically. And when I say us, I mean the school, I mean the guys that came before them. As long as they're representing us academically and on the field, at this point, man, it seems like that's the best we're going to be able to ask for. Because these kids nowadays, if you look at, Saturday, I'm looking at these guys on the sideline and just kind of noticing, it would seem that 2 out of every 3 players on the field, whether it be us or someone else, have tattoos. And probably half of all the players have some type of scraggly beard. It's just kind of the way it is now, man. So, instead of us deciding we want to be old fogies, I don't say that we have to give in. We have to acknowledge that things have changed, times have changed, and we got to set our priorities and not move from those. And the priorities are kids coming to Penn State, getting a phenomenal education, keeping your nose clean, staying out of trouble, and playing incredibly good football.
Well, I can agree with those aspects. Well, and also morally, toeing the line and staying out of trouble. That's part of it also. And unfortunately, the stigmatism you do have to kind of wear sometimes because that rebelliousness with the long hair and the tattoos and stuff like that. Unfortunately, does follow a lot of those guys who are that way. And I'm not trying to be prejudiced towards them. Listen, they become part of the football family. I'm love them like everybody else. They're doing it can help them like everybody else would as well, in the family. But you got to also realize too, these guys need to kind of set themselves apart and separate themselves from that type of stigma to try to show that that's not where they are. And I'm hoping that we don't have to bring them here, and a lot of those bad things that kind of can come along with them follows them. And we don't want to have this stuff happen here like we have down in Florida State and these other schools where guys are just they're losing their minds. Yeah, and I'm sure Coach Franklin does a great job disciplining them too. But again, you can only do so much. A weekend and a break, whatever, a days off, and somebody goes out and gets doing something stupid.
Well, I tell you what, Skip. I remember when again, I didn't grow up a Penn State fan because I'm from Nashville, so didn't grow up a Penn State fan. Didn't grow up going to Penn State games. But the one phrase that I've heard ever since I've been involved with Penn State that it took me a while to kind of understand, and I truly probably 19, 20 years old, I got it. When you hear someone say he's a Penn State kid, that's a very real phrase, and that's a very real characteristic. Because you look at kids at Penn State, for the most part, for the vast part, if they're downtown hanging out on College Ave somewhere, their whole focus is knowing very well that they can't do anything to embarrass themselves, can't do anything to embarrass the school. So there's a way that they handle themselves, that they carry themselves. And being in the locker room with this current team, actually the last 2 years, being in the locker room, with those guys, spending a little time with them, in the training room, and also being on the sideline, I'll tell you, man, those kids are a bunch of very polite, mannerable. They are worth us being proud because they're good kids.
Well, they've been coached. He's coaching them.
Yeah,
he's been coaching them, and that's good to hear. Because I still remember back in the end of the day. I know we don't talk too much. Digress too much about the days from the past, but I think a lot of people out there who listen are still of that era and know what we're talking about, and have witnessed and have seen these changes as well. And I still remember playing against Gary Brown from Williamsport as a running back, and I grew up, from last grade football. We always played against those guys. He came in a year after me at Penn State as a running back, and he's a great athlete all the way through high school. And I remember me, and I remember him. But I see him hanging downtown there at the campus casino. I said, Gary, what are you doing, man? I was like, aren't you in class? And of course, he went in the NFL now, and he's coaching now and stuff. He's a great guy, but it's priorities, and then some of these guys can find ways to get away with some things that some of us we'd be afraid to. And I think Joe or is it Joe or is that Stephen the jokes? Is that you, Joe, or Stephen Rich? I'm going to bring on the phone. Okay, well, those guys will be jumping in there. Well, we didn't get to hear from Julian because he's a younger guy. Hey, Stephen. All right, we're just talking about having the big game. What's up there, Gene? Glad you could join us, buddy. We were talking about some of the recruiting, and I was chatting to some people online about, seeing these kids come in with the long hair and tattoos and stuff like this, and how we all had to kind of conform, and that doesn't kind of seem to fit the Penn State mold of players coming in there and clean cut kids and respectable looking on and off the field, and that's kind of what we're talking about.
Let's hear what Julian has.
Yeah,
in a nutshell, we're covered it all. It's definitely trends. It's the times that we're in now. Even if you look back, even to the '90s, we had with Michael Jordan and Pippen and going just to a professional realm of it all, or Dan Marino or anybody being as like heroes. We look to a lot of times as athletes as our heroes, as opposed to firemen or policemen and things like that. So when you're a kid, like growing up seeing your hero, you want to be like your hero. Nowadays, your hero has dreads, has a lot of tattoos. Even something about the white Americans. Matthews from the Packers, he has long hair. He before himself. So like just with the times and the way they are. In the hero statue, that's just the image that they give us. So as the younger generation is, you want to embody that fully. And a lot of those people, even with Larry Fitzgerald, even has long dreads and a lot of tattoos. Or Marshawn Lynch, anybody we can name really, are just more of that type of figure. So it's hard not to get away from that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that those characteristics indicate who you are as a person, because Larry Fitzgerald is a phenomenal person. Mm-hmm. I give you someone else who's part of our family that is tatted from neck to knuckles. That is one of the greatest human beings I've ever met and watched play in my life, is Michael Robinson. My concern with it, even with my son, my concern with the whole tattoo thing is, when you're finished with school and you don't make it to the NFL or the NBA, you got to go through that first interview. So, if you go out and get all these tattoos, from your neck to your knuckles, how do you cover that up in an interview? Because if I'm a VP of sales, if I'm in HR, there's probably, you could be a phenomenal person. Your high school transcript, I mean, your college transcript could be incredible. But there's probably a chance that I'm not going to hire you because I don't want that to represent myself or my company. So those are the things the discussion that I had with my son. After you get a job, after you've, started your career, if you feel comfortable doing those things, no problem. But you will not have those for your first interview. And if you come home with any of those, then you're not going to have a major discussion, and you probably won't be coming home for a long time.
Even looking outside of that, just culture in general, you have like the bad boy type image, which being held as nice and the thing to do. So it's like a lot of young people, before even thinking about it, might just go with the decision. Maybe later regret it, but then again, depending on what they want to do, like maybe you think, I'll just be a musician or something like that if it doesn't work out or things like that. So it's a lot of just thinking right now too, instead of for the future too.
But Julian, how many of those kids make it to the rap game?
Not many.
Julian, how many of those kids make it to the NBA and NFL?
Not many. Even now, when I was trying to put them out, people were like, "Please just play basketball."
Well, Julian brings up a good point because as a kid, I wasn't a kicker all my life. I mean, I love Lynn Swann, man. I had my 88 jersey out in 6th grade playing football, and we're out playing recess and stuff, man. Lynn Swann was the man, and I love playing wide receiver and stuff. And, it was awesome. I mean, I've been so blessed to 20 years removed, I'm back, go through Penn State football, and then I finally meet him on the sidelines and to shake his hand and say, Mr. Swann, I really appreciated you as an athlete and as a person throughout your life here. And he's walked a good walk, man. And then to see him run for governor. These kids need guys with honorable men to look to in their lives. And I hope these professional, and I think the NFL is starting to catch on to some of that now too, that these clauses and contracts are going to start realizing, you guys want to be the free, you ain't going to be here. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. Stefan, what do you think?
Well, there's a whole lot of work now, I really appreciate how you're doing, Julian. Your generation doing well. Those things that I put, and I guess, I'm looking at is individuality in one side, like I said, Greg said, it doesn't really tell the person, but I guess my thing is after a while, how much of it is disturbing what goes on at the team or the job. It's really not about us, dressing a certain way all the time. It's really about how you're going to come through and what you're going to bring to the table. I think what Greg was talking about is, until you establish, people talk about folks that are discriminated against for all kind of reasons. Now, many reasons on paper you can't discriminate against people. It's not about what's on paper, it's about what's not on paper. So if you see someone coming to present a certain image and you have an HR person that's there, the talks that I've been involved with, searches and other things, where people really don't stick to what it says on the paper. You got 5 to 7 years of experience you need such and such a degree, we need you to be able to run this, we need you to supervise a $20 million budget. You may be able to do it, but you're not going to get the first base if people have preconceived notions about you that you should not do a certain job. These jobs, as you see, are very difficult to get. A lot of uninformed people with degrees and all those other things. It's just, you want to make sure that you come in and get an opportunity. That's right. You just fit in the door. And it's really about growth, because I look at certain things, the crazy haircuts we had, we all understood. A lot of it was about really looking at what the culture is. And if you do want to work on your own, you do want to get your business, it's going to take you a while, but most likely you're going to need to learn how to negotiate systems. How does the system work? Not just at a college, how does the system work at a company? What are the individuals? What is the network like, and what do they expect, and what is their culture? How do they interact with each other, and what's acceptable? And that's pretty much it. It's just a way that students when they go to college, they get their ticket stamped. In order for you to get in that room, I always do a scenario where I do some motivational speaking. I will put a table out in front of a group of people, it will seat 6 people. So that's the one, everybody knows this, no one knows what it is. So I always have to let everybody know. So how many people are in there? There might be 60. people. How many seats? 6. Well, there's going to be a reason why 6 people see this table and why will it be. Well, if you don't have it together from the beginning, you're not going to be able to take a step and be one of those 6 people to have a seat, make decisions, and be able to affect leadership, affect change. And that's what I think we're missing even in the NFL now, and league office and all these other things. You have all these people in there, and again, it's a whole other show, but the Adrian Peterson thing. It just is, there's got to be more leadership than just a commissioner and these other folks. And people are making decisions. Are they qualified to make them? Some of those guys are fools that have seats. But guess what, though? If you one of those 6 people that sits in the seat, you have to get in there. You have to have the skills. Because you know what? A lot of times the wrong people are in the wrong seat because they didn't make those decisions early, like Greg said, to get out of the starting blocks. And most likely when Greg was a national track star as well, and Greg, the race a lot of times is won and lost in the starting block too.
It is. It's all about your start. I tell you what, I'll bring it even closer to home. Julian is, Julian's been helping us, been working with us all year. And I enjoy you, man. He is Julian. I'm gonna tell you, dude, you are an extremely intelligent, articulate, and effective young man.
I appreciate it.
I don't know what you look like. You can have dreads down to your kneecaps. You can have tattoos from your neck to your toes. But I will tell you, just vocally, and spending time that I spent with you every Tuesday this year, I think you are a phenomenal young man. And hopefully, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to charge you to make sure that you continue to make a difference and lead your group of peers. Because you have a heck of a way. You've made a phenomenal impression on 3 40-plus-year-old dudes, man. So I will tell you that you have whatever it takes to be a phenomenal leader.
Absolutely. And let me say this. And then, this goes to show you how people stereotype it. It goes to show you how what the stereotype is. I'm going to put it right out there, man. His brother is from Camden.
Camden, yeah. He's not supposed to be where he is.
Oh, no, yeah, and that's exactly what I mean. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. And we talked about people that are on my team from Camden that probably played with you and other things. You know more stories and other things. Your education's more than just you getting a degree, but it's where you take it. Where do you go? And I'm just really proud of where you are taking your education and what it is you're doing. Hopefully, you're going back and make a difference in that educational system again. That region. Again, having the right folks there. And from where I'm from Bedford, we got good folks there. But people always complain about people not being in the right space. Well, I would say that you're in the right space, Julian, now. I think it's not just who you are, it's who you're going to become. I look forward to seeing who you become.
I definitely appreciate it. And, honestly, I just take it from, kind of like a more aspect with my mom. I grew up with just a mom, and she was pretty hard on me with, doing things the right way and presenting myself well with adults. So even from that aspect, I try to take those things and took it with me as I grew up and try to treat the next person with the respect that I would like to be treated with myself, which I think even just that alone, a lot of young people have lost just respect for the next person, because I've come across a lot of people who it's just about a me thing, and then maybe that's another thing that goes along with the image that we're talking about, because it's just a me type of world now, where people aren't really sharing with the next person, even if it's your best friend, being more of not being for that person all the way when you could be. So, I just think we need to, as a generation, we do need that image, that leader, to help us as young people redirect ourselves, because it is kind of like in a gray line type of area where we are and how we think about ourselves.
Well, my man, you are definitely a perfect shining light for that generation. So you keep being a leader and lead from the front, man. Don't ever lead from behind.
Well, he does, and he is here, and he's dedicated. Coming in here, late like this to help make this show a success. We couldn't do that without him. I'm here to learn too, because I know Julian's got great ambitions and great talent too, because he's willing to do things that most people don't, and he's willing to step up, and he has that ambition and that go get him attitude. I mean, this man here went and went and tried for an arena football team out of Pittsburgh. And I'm like, wow, man, that is awesome.
Go there myself. I didn't know that. Go back.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, man. That's just good.
So how did it work out, Julie?
To be honest, there were 50 wide receivers. So I appreciated just the environment. I mean, I saw Lynn Swan, spoke to him really briefly because he was more about seeing talent, and I was looked at, but at the same time, I'm not the biggest dude in stature, and so when I grew up, I was a quarterback. So if I was just a little, God bless me, a little bit more inches, there's no doubt about it, I'll be a quarterback right now. So I just kind of came a wide receiver by default, just off the size, but I do have the speed and I do have the attributes, but I know that that's being a leader. He when it comes to basketball, I'm a point guard because I'm used to that. Just telling my team, let's go, get ready, let's do this. We're not losing type attitude. So there were a lot of men on the field that day, and but I'm just grateful to just be in that environment.
Well, let me ask you this, Julian. Did you play college ball?
I did play basketball.
You didn't play football?
No, I didn't play football. But I was set to try out. But to be honest with you, it was so much going on in my life during that time that I was taking a class that was pretty hard, and it was during the same time of tryouts. So I should have just tried out anyway, but I didn't do it. But now I look back, I wish I did.
Well, you're not too old. That's my point, man. Because look, you got your 4 years of eligibility, man.
This is true. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not done playing sports. I mean, I know I have a passion for the game.
Yeah.
When it comes to football, I love viewing and embracing it. All the way. When it comes to playing basketball, which are just happen to be my two favorite sports. Basketball is just something I know that I like to ignite my teammates, so to speak, to take over the victory. It's one of those where you might be down, but you're not out. So I just I take that and take that and put it in life for myself. I grew up just being a very sports avid type dude when it comes to every sport. I can tell you about tennis, skiing. I can tell you about the greatest skiers, Peekaboo Street. It doesn't matter who it is. And I just
brothers from Kansas City, you lying. I have bro. I'm sorry. I had to see that. Back in the day, you all used to wear the big boy hat. Come on, man.
Stephen, are you trying to tell me that brothers from Kansas can't ski?
To be honest with you,
I'd have to see. That's what I said.
I just like to be knowledgeable of all things. I feel like I have to step up. Like I can tell you about tennis. I can tell you about Andre Agassi and his troubles and trials and how he became crazy with the crazy hair and the earring and how people received him and all that. So it's really more about just embracing sports, because for me in my life growing up just with the mother, those are the things that, for me, looking at the image of that being a hero, for me, I was like, oh wow, this is the man, this is what they do. We get strong and we go to battle. So sports, it's like when I'm watching the two most elite athletes or teams go at it, and to get the victory, it's like they're putting everything out on the line and not being denied, what they know is given to them. And if you do lose, I have a good sportsmanship.
Yep, I tell you what, I tell you where I gained a ton of respect, a ton more of respect for you, and truly believing who you are. When you and Skip had a little disagreement about how to do things there in the studio, I was extremely impressed with the way that you stood firm, but also being extremely respectful of your elder, but completely standing firm on what you believed in. I thought that was awesome, and that's one of the reasons why I'm complimenting you now, because you are a young man and you've been raised well, man. Your mom should be extremely proud of you.
Absolutely. The best part about it all is again, we're under the gun here. We're always on. We only have a few minutes and everything's live. And because it's in the podcast, everything's happening here live, folks. We're just talking and what's going on. And really, I'm here anxious to learn myself. But we really found out that we're actually both on the same page. We just weren't expressing it in a way that one another stood that night. So we have even a greater understanding and actually appreciation for one another now than we had before, because we found that we're really, we really are the same team. It's just that, I was trying to learn it, and he was trying to do his job, and we ended up crossing one another up, and now we're good to go. But those are the maturity things that a lot of people I know, even in this business, because this business of the broadcast world, I've only been here a little while. Man, it's not like the regular world out there. Man, it's like sports. You get some people out there who have some huge ego, and they think they are it, and they're the talent, and this is they'll make it happen, and that's something that we're totally not. That's something Julian's not like, and that's what we're not like. I'm not like myself, by God's grace. I hope not. And it's totally different, because if other people, if we had had that little, what would you call it, Julian? Misunderstanding. Correct. Somebody probably walked out of here if it would have been somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no kidding, because
I thought. Skip, you handled yourself exactly the way I would always expect you to. And Julian, you are a quality young man, a gentleman. So I was just very, very, very happy to see that. So now let's talk about Indiana.
Oh man, you really want to jump right in? We're watching. We got to touch on Temple just a little bit, okay? Because we do. But we got to jump on Temple because we were watching, Greg, and there's moments during that game that we're wondering, like, man, what's up with Hackenberg?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to put my pulse on it.
The only reason I wanted to say something about Indiana is because that running back, Kevin, I can't remember his name, went for 170 Saturday. And when we talked about that game, I think I told you guys, that kid's going to be playing on Sundays. But what that really showed me was we have a phenomenal defense, man. Our defense is absolutely incredible. You look at the quarterback at Ohio State that went for over 20 yards passing, $150 or some odd rushing. And I don't think he's going to play on Sunday, but that kid in Indiana is going to play on Sunday. That's the only reason I wanted to bring that up. So the Temple game, again, our defense is phenomenal. We're past that stage of, first 4 or 5 games where they were shutting people down like they were. Of course, there's the preseason schedule. Don't really think a whole lot of it. Now we're 9-10 games into the season, and they are just blasting people. And, they are absolutely incredible. They I guess we got probably, 3-4 touchdowns off turnovers. We've got, 4 interceptions. And the other part of it that was beautiful was on the opposite side of the ball, we get Donovan Smith back, we get Diefenbach back, and we run for almost 300 yards. Wow. Two running backs, one at 130, the other one at almost 100.
366 yards.
Yeah, and you look at, they shuffle some people around, like Mangiero, instead of going back to center, went to guard, and Willie Laurent as a center. I mean, they all did a good job. They did a really good job of meshing. So think about what's going to happen over the next 2 games. And then after they had 15 bowl practices, and they were really able to spend more time gelling together with Diefenbach back. And then wrap your head around the fact that, and we all said this earlier in the year, after that, wrap your head around the fact that we get 4 out of 5 starters back. Then we get 3 other guys back that have started this year on the offensive line. So we're going to go from them being a complete detriment to them being one of the stronger positions on our team next year. Which means that our running game will be successful, which means that Hackenberg can go back to being the quarterback that he is, that's able to have time in the pocket, as well as play action pass, being able to work, things like that. And again, I'll say this again, and we talked about this before too, and this the last thing I'm going to say as you guys had it. I know that we can't run the hurry-up offense for 4 quarters because we don't need to continue to put our defense back on the field quickly. But my goodness, every time we run our NASCAR offense, gentlemen, we score the ball. Hackenberg looks incredible when we're running the hurry up offense. When he's able, and the reason being is because, as I found out talking to someone who's very connected to the program on the sideline on Saturday, the reason being is when he's in the hurry up offense, he completely calls all the plays. He's got open audible. When he's running the huddle offense, they limit him in the audible that he can make. And that one confuses me because as you look at the freedom that kid had last year with O'Brien and the audibles he made, and he was extremely successful. So I don't understand handcuffing him this year, but what I do know is when he's in that hurry up offense and he's able to call plays and able to make play changes at the line of scrimmage, my goodness, fellas, the kid's phenomenal. So if we can see that, wouldn't you think that other people on the staff that are with this kid every day would see that?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think Greg, you did a great job describing it. You've detailed it greatly here, what we've seen throughout this year. Because last year he is that type of an NFL type of quarterback where he comes to the line, he adjusts and mobilizes, and makes it happen. This year he was handcuffed, and I think we suffered a little bit from it. But I think everybody's catching on to people's strengths and weaknesses. And like you said, we go through another, basically another preseason with no preparation. Watch out.
I tell you what, man, we truly have a heck of a team coming back, and we've got, based on the virtue of limited scholarships, we've got a lot of kids coming back, not just starters, but we've got a lot of kids coming back with a lot of snaps under their belt, second team kids.
Stefan, any closing thoughts here on we'll wrap up Temple. We'll move on to your favorite team there, Greg.
Indiana,
I'm pretty doggone excited about that.
Yeah, well, I think you guys, pretty much summed it up. I'm very proud of the way the offensive line played and come along, and sometimes it takes a lot to gel. And without Donovan Smith in that lineup, sometimes certain things had to happen for everybody else to get better, and somebody else had to become an anchor. So I think what we have out of that line is some more leaders. You mentioned Miles, and you mentioned Mancera. All those guys are going to be leaders in the line, and that's what we're going to need going into next year after we lose Smith, is because they had to find out what it was going to be like to play without him. And then guess what? They found out. And now they found out what it is that they can do and how competitive they. My biggest thing was just being competitive as possible and trying to work every week to get better. I think that at first, maybe Hackenberg wasn't used to having that type of time. People have got to realize, though, it's not going to be just about his mechanics and all this thing. He's going to have some bad problems. His leadership skills getting better. I think that's why this is the money year for him. If he's going to have a money year, we didn't find out about Hackenberg until things got rough. Things went bad. And, I'm really proud of the way he has stepped up and taken some lumps and recovered from some things. And that's what it's really all about. That Penn State defense from the middle of the late 80s, that Penn State defense that was just going to bring the pain to you, and then be where they want to be. And then they started playing more and more people. And again, the D-line just better and better. Reto and Austin Johnson, seeing Austin Johnson, seeing him knock down passes, and just have more phenomenal skills. And of course, the linebackers, even beside Hall, there's more people playing. And those DBs, they're really playing. They really are.
Absolutely.
We fortunately next year get all of our game changers back on defense except for Hall. That's going to be really big. That's a big loss, but we have every playmaker on defense back outside of Hall. On offense, the only person that we're truly going to miss is Diefenbach. I wouldn't have said this before the season started, but I will say this now. Possibly the biggest loss that we'll have is Ficken.
Yeah, we need to go out and
absolutely. I mean, there's a guy that made it to the trials. Made it to the trials and did what he had to do to get better, and played a couple of times in the big play, and he's been clutch. He did it overseas. This is a guy from, people look at it like a quick gesture.
Yeah, you can do that.
I would say on offense, I appreciate just the deception that was, being called on offense. A lot of like wide receiver come arounds and fake handoffs and things like that, just to throw the defense off. So I appreciate that because that opened up a lot of holes for the running backs.
And one of the things you mentioned, Julian, was you mentioned it about 4 weeks ago. It happened by default, but you really talk about the importance of getting the talent and using the talent and running back like a key events. I think you called that, and I think you pretty much said, if I remember correctly, that you have a lot more options. Coach State would have a lot more options if they were able to get him going. And good, they got him going.
Correct. It gives Belton, time for his body to, relax and mentally, if he's seeing somebody else on the field, do well, then he's going to be hungry to keep doing his thing and doing what he knows how to do. So that's another reason why they have that dual threat, especially for the running back position, considering how we're calling the plays. It definitely has been a big benefit.
Well, they did bounce it out with Akil Lynch at 18 carries and Dalton at 19. So they did bounce it out. Wow.
Right. Tell you what, unfortunately, because of injury, which is unfortunate, but we're down to our two better options running back. But as I was telling, I think I was telling Skip this the other day. We definitely the Ohio State game found out exactly why we've been complaining for 2 years that Akil Lynch isn't seeing the ball, he's not touching the rock. Well, fellas, that Ohio State game, we found out why. When Boza trucked him on that 4th down, we realized where he was a little deficient. I tell you what, man.
Is that John Boza's kid from Boston College?
I don't know.
Just wonder. Yeah.
Well, we know that kid pass protection definitely is something he needs to work on when it comes to Lynch.
Well, I mean, in the NFL, that's how people make the roster. If you want to be the last running back, it's going to be for 2 reasons. One of the major reasons, sometimes it's special things, but anybody that doesn't know or not even a pass protector, they're not going to make the football team. Yeah. I think that's the difference with the elite running back. People like Marshall Faulk and all that great stuff on too. People didn't understand Marshall Faulk was one of the best pass protector running backs
in the history of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very true. I think with Lynch is more about getting low. If Belt wasn't for that play, I've talked with a couple others who viewed the game, and they were saying that they felt like he was getting more low when it came to that rush. So therefore, he wouldn't have to worry about just getting blown up. So maybe some more of it. Maybe more of the technique thought about it. Maybe that'll help him out more. He is technically a bigger body than Belton, but it seems like Belton has that more presence of mind.
Well, one thing that I found out, even playing wide receiver, blocking is about attitude. It's not necessarily about size. Technique definitely helps you, but blocking is about attitude because the first thing that you got to want to do is stick your nose in there. And he's getting there. He's working through it. But I tell you what, unlike the other running backs that we've had, Belton and Gwinnett, when there's no hole, this guy is patient enough to wait for a hole, but also quick enough to burst through it when it finally does open. And Belton is an East-West runner. Gwinnett is a guy that, by the time that he got to the line of scrimmage, the hole was closed. So this guy, this kid kind of gives you a healthy mix of both. So I see awesome things in the future for this kid. I tell you the other thing too, fellas, that I did. I went to practice Friday, and right before practice, I went into the weight room to see Coach Golf, the strength coach. While I was waiting on him, I was sitting there watching kids lift. And I tell you what, the two running backs, the kid from Coatesville, can't remember his name. He tore his ACL the senior year last year. He's redshirting, and then Nick, I think it's Nick Scott, a kid from DC. Man, you're talking about some good-looking kids. Wow, there are so many good-looking kids in that freshman class. Even there's 3 DBs that are redshirting this year. I mean, they look D1 ready, man.
Well, it says a lot in there.
It's loud in that. It's loud in that weight room. They work hard.
Yeah, well, it says a lot though on a Friday because here it's a light practice schedule. These guys are in there, clanking it hard,
Yeah.
Speaking of that, on a side note, 4-star recruit Adam McLean decommits from Penn State, and he was a DN.
Oh wow! McLean decommitted.
Yes, he did. He was 6'2", 3, ESPN 300. So that is kind of a blow. But even
I don't know if you guys remember this summer during the that camp, that All-Star camp they had. He was the kid that had Penn State carved in his haircut.
Yep, I do remember that.
He was a big time spokesman. Wow. And then the other offensive lineman. Yeah, as we're talking about that stuff, right? Matthew Burrell, a 4-star offensive lineman, committed to Ohio State. I just saw that a little while ago too. So not only do we lose a 4-star defensive tackle, we lose a potential 4-star All-American guard that goes to Ohio State.
Well, I don't think McLean didn't decommit because they wouldn't let him carve PSU in his head. So. No, that's not it. I'm sorry, man. What we were talking about earlier, I can say that, didn't I, man?
Well, this kid also too. He was the kid that back, I guess, right after what was the quarterback's name that decommitted and is going to play today? Wimbush. Right after Wimbush decommitted, this kid decided he was going to take some visits, but, wanted everybody to know that he's still solid at Penn State. I just want to take some visits. And believe it or not, this kid took a visit to, of all places, gentlemen, Washington State.
Whoa! Wow.
So when he took a visit to Washington State, I thought to myself, I'm not worried about him. He just wants to take
a long trip, man.
Go on vacation. Yeah, he just wants to go on vacation like that. So I wasn't really concerned about him. Now all of a sudden this kid decommitted. So when he said he was going to Washington State, I thought to myself, okay, we could be on probation for 90 years. And you would still go to Washington State over from Penn State?
Really? Oh, man.
And you're from D.C.?
No.
That doesn't make any sense.
None.
Well, he must have saw something out there that caught his eye. That's all I can say.
Man, I'll tell you what, it'd be interesting to see what it is.
Oh, sure.
But I'm sure there's plenty of commits that are probably a little irritated with him because he was a bell cow. He was that mouthpiece and the cheerleader and the recruiter for that class. He was that guy.
Wow.
So,
what do you got, man? We got about 3 minutes, man. What do you got?
Well, we got a little, a minute or two over here. We'll run it right to the next show. Goes. All right, Joel?
That's all right. Yeah, I'm going to tell you.
Go ahead.
On the bright side, former walk-on Brian Keiser had returned back to the team, after several surgeries with the rib fracture. This season, but at least back with the team, back with the family.
Good. Julian, do you guys watch College Game Day?
Yes.
Yeah. The guy Bear that they always ask questions to, and he gives them predictions, things like that.
Yes.
I think you're our version of Bear. You're our production guy that we're going to get. We ask questions and you give us updated information. I love it.
Well, sounds good to me. That show right there, that's heavyweight football right there.
That is, man.
Well, since
you want to do the picks now?
Well, I do want to do that, but I have to touch on that since Joel said that because we can run a couple more minutes here since the next show is not going to be up until another 5 after, so then we're back into the syndicated in the syndication there. But a lot of these other professional broadcasters actually have a crew of people that are always there, like a lot of those. That's why there's microphones and stuff in their ears. They're getting fed these stats up on their computers and everything. Their own statisticians and people feeding them this data. So again, what makes us a little bit different, folks, after you're listening, picking this up, is we don't have that. We're talking about what we see. We're talking about what we know and what we see. And again, we've heard it from players, guys who used to play. And that's what makes us different in Lions Live. So just keep that in mind. We don't have people whispering in their ears what the stats are. So if you hear us because we're watching it, we're seeing it. But anyway, back in here to our picks quick. We can go ahead and do that. Iowa last week here, I just didn't want to touch on this just for about a minute. Iowa lost last week here Illinois lost last week to Iowa 30-14, and Penn State's on the road. So I'll just hold off our thoughts on that when we get to that as our last pick, because I think we should talk a little bit about what we're facing there. But here we go into this week again. We have Iowa and Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think Wisconsin is ready to go, man.
Yeah, I think he put the 500 this week.
Yeah, he's going to put up a lot. For him to break the FBS record, and really, it's just something this Wisconsin, as it gets colder and more brutal, they're more brutal. Wisconsin is a definite place to play that string of football.
Steve Bullet Gordon, like you said, he's probably going to put a 500 plus, who knows? He was out after the third quarter with 408. So you can just imagine.
I know, that's why I said 500. He didn't even shut the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
he didn't even come close to sniffing the fourth quarter. They might have actually put him up in the stand somewhere in the fourth quarter, man. Witness protection or something.
That's insane. Save it for next week.
It wasn't a nobody team against Nebraska, which that game was important for both teams. So, I mean, that was pretty explosive.
Yeah, the first round.
Well, we have no doubt there. We have Minnesota at Nebraska. Speaking of Nebraska,
I mean, Minnesota's
I'm gonna take Minnesota, man.
Right?
I'm a believer now.
Okay.
I'm a believer in Minnesota. Man, that Coach Killen has turned that thing around and built that thing. You know what? He's the modern day. What's the coach in Michigan State? D'Antonio. Do you remember where they were always a great first half team and always gave the game away in the second half?
Mm-hmm.
And he finally changed the culture and built that thing up. That's what that guy at Minnesota has done. I'm a believer now. I'm a believer now. Yeah.
And Stefan, what do you think?
Well, I'm not going to jump on a play. I am a believer in Minnesota. I just think that Nebraska is going to come back very angry and ready to go. And I think he's okay. There's always questions about him. I think with him back, he's not going to be able to do everything. I think Nebraska is going to come back. Some football we've been playing. That's one of the best football. I think they're going to finish strong.
I'm not going to lie.
Nebraska.
That's a tough pick, and both teams are going to be angry. Minnesota, definitely want to pull that out against Ohio State, and then Nebraska against Wisconsin. You're not making that outcome. I'm going to have to go with, I think Nebraska, to be honest. I think maybe Minnesota is just going to be too, so even though the amount of what they lost by was less, they're just going to be too, maybe, it's still going to be like a hangover type game.
Well, I'm gonna go through Nebraska, but I think it's gonna be a close game. I'm gonna be 1 or 2 point, 2-score game at most, maybe by 10. So I see it being close. We have Northwestern at Purdue.
Oh wow, Northwestern. Yeah, man, that's amazing. Northwestern rolls over the game.
Yep.
After that win against Notre Dame, and keep riding that horse. Definitely Northwestern.
Yep, for sure. And then, of course, we have Indiana at Ohio State. And Greg, now I try to be reasonable in your score, right?
Let's see. Rutgers beat Indiana 52 to what? 14?
Mm-hmm.
So I think this. Ohio State is still trying to make a point.
Yeah. Okay.
So it might be 70-3.
Okay, it's a horseshoe, maybe.
I agree. Ohio State, if you saw the rankings tonight, they're placed at number 6, so they definitely still will get in that top 4. So I think they're going to go for those style points by a large margin.
Is Alabama number 1 now?
Alabama's number 1.
Did Mississippi State fall out?
They are, I believe, number 11. I was looking at the stats. The numbers earlier, but then I did get away from it. But Florida State, I believe, is number 2. Oregon is number 3, and Mississippi State is number 4.
Oh, they're number 4.
They're number 4. They didn't drop them out.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting. I think we all agree with Ohio State, am I right? I don't think there's anybody doing that. Well, we have Maryland at Michigan.
I like Maryland in that game. I think Maryland. I'm going with Michigan. You think Maryland? Yeah, I think Maryland. I think Michigan, again, I think they're playing better football. I just see Maryland coming back. Maryland is more competitive than people give them credit for it. I don't like Maryland. I really don't like them now. But I think they're going to go in and I think they're going to get this.
Well, Stefan Diggs is out for the season.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because that's what makes Maryland so much better. Maryland has the next man up. They have an abundance of talent. They don't have Stefan Diggs. There's an abundance of talent. And I think Maryland's going to get Michigan.
At Michigan, too. Okay.
I'll take Michigan.
Yep. Joey, what do you think?
I'm going Michigan, too.
I'm going to jump with Stefan. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Maryland may pull something out, maybe by 7. So I think you're on something, Stefan. And you have Michigan State, Rutgers.
Michigan State prohibited me.
Yeah.
Michigan State by a landslide.
Michigan State.
Well, I don't think it's going to be a landslide. I think Rutgers is going to try to put up a fight. But I don't think it's going to be a landslide. But I think it's going to be a decisive one. It's not going to be a landslide by two touchdowns. But, of course, we have Penn State here traveling to Illinois. We wanted to touch on that real quick about what's happening with them because they're coming. The Illini coming off of that 30-14 loss last week. Penn State's on the road. We struggle a bit. We're on the road here. What are you guys thinking on this one?
I'm going to go Wild.
Where you going to go? Well, the State Farm agent on the insurance commercial says, I think we're good. I think we're good.
I like that, Stephen. That's good, man. We need to get them as a sponsor. You mentioned them like that. That's a good idea. That could be a good neighbor.
I want to mention that.
Oh no, I think that's funny. I think that's great. You know, I like that. But hey, it's not a bad idea. I could have the agent and see if he can hook us up because we're all donating our time. Joe's got to make some money, man. So, am I right, Joey?
Who do you like?
I mean, not to be a positive yet negative person, I believe Penn State we're going to beat Illinois because us beating Michigan State is a long shot. And even if you want to look at it from the angle of the referees who are not trying to let us beat Ohio State, I just think it's maybe something similar or Michigan State is just, not going to let it happen.
Right.
Okay, well, Greg, I'm not going to give you want to give the last thought on this one, but
yeah, you go ahead.
I know I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but I'll tell you, I think we're going to struggle on the road here. If we do win, it's going to be close, but I actually think we could possibly lose by 3-7 on this one. I don't want to see it happen, and I hope I'm going to see it.
Only 7. It'll be 10. There's no way.
Well, I think we're going to play that well.
Have you picked Penn State one time this year?
Oh, absolutely. I've actually come in the times I've picked where I've come in on this. I've actually been like within 1 or 2 points. But I think coming off this loss to Iowa, I think the Illini is going to be up. This is going to be their game of the year for them. This is going to be their major recruiting event for them, and they're going to be up for Penn State. And it's like what we had up here before when I talked about it. These guys are going to be up. I want to see Penn State win. I'd like to see us win decisively, and I hope we do. We're playing some good football. But it's not going to be that easy. Like I said, if Penn State wins this one, it's going to be by, it's not going to be by 2 touchdowns, okay? But I could possibly see the upset possibly happening. I hope it doesn't, but I possibly see it happening just because of, as I've seen this play out before. And again, it's like when we traveled before, to Michigan. This is their game, man. This is their season.
I mean, I agree. Maybe
I know we'll be lucky to score at some point.
I hope so.
I'm going to say not a tremendous game, but I'm going to say 27-10 or 30-10 Penn State. Then we're going to get 37-30 Penn State.
I truly hope so.
All right. So here's mine. Do you remember July 2012 when Beckman sent 8 coaches to Penn State to Nittany Apartments, the last building, and everywhere else he could disperse coaches to steal players? You remember that?
I do.
So do you remember what Mike Mowdy did to him this next year?
Hey, I look forward to us kicking the crap out of him. I'm with you, brother.
Do you remember what we did to them last year?
Yes, and it didn't hurt enough. It didn't hurt enough.
Listen.
I know you're going.
Listen, Skip. Listen, you consider this a big game for them. They're going to be up for it, yada, yada, yada. every game until the end of time when we play Illinois, it's going to be that game for Penn State. You can count on it. You can bank it because Mike Mowdy set a precedent to play against Illinois.
I hope so, brother. I hope so.
Let me give you the stat line, gentlemen. Let me give you the stat line. 15 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, 1 interception returned 90 some odd yards, 98 yards to the 1. He set the precedent against Illinois. They did the same thing last year. They're going to do the same thing this year. They are going to. This is my prediction. Shortly after that game, Beckman's AD is going to say to him, "Hey, we've enjoyed it. Thank you for everything you've done. We're going to head in a new direction." because as long as they're here, as long as you're coaching, they are going to kill us every year.
We want to leave the Big Ten, right?
We will never win against Penn State as long as you're here.
Well, I hope that's true, brother. I really do.
Consider the last few games, maybe, you know, but maybe in the beginning it might be a back and forth pool first half, but second half, you know, Penn State, I think we finally got it, and we'll just ride away with the game in the second half. And then, like I said, going back to the last game of the season, Michigan State, I see us ending the season 7-5, you know, which will be pretty nice considering, you know, we didn't know where this season was going, considering the play from the offense specifically, and us playing in a decent bowl game considering how the year has been. I think will be awesome.
You can best believe too, James Franklin has brought into the hatred for Illinois. So I'm sure he's going to help them do everything possible, not only to beat Illinois, but to absolutely embarrass and destroy it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I love you, man. I love it. I love the way you talk, man.
Hey, man, I'm just keeping it real, brother. Keeping it real.
But don't get more real than this, folks. The fastest hour in football. I really appreciate everybody who's been with us tonight. You've been listening to Greg Johnson, Big Dude Stephen Davis, Julian. My name's Skip Dobbs. Really thank you all for joining us. Hey, we're going to be able to talk about all this again here next week and then some more. So be sure to join us next Tuesday here on Lions Live and the Forever Lions Network. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Enjoy Penn State football. Let's hope they pull this out here over Illinois this weekend. How'd you like it, Greg? I said pull it out. Outstanding. Hey, y'all have a great week. Lord bless.
29-7. See you later.